What if the only thing standing between you and $250,000 a year is your closing skills? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. I want to work with you and talk about closing. See, most agents are not very good at closing. I have dealt with and trained agents for a number of years, and I'm amazed at how many times at an open house, for example, training an agent how to do an open house the right way and how to set appointments from an open house, which, by the way, if you're not getting at least 50% appointments from your open house, you're doing it wrong. But part of that is the close. See, agents would tell me, oh, I had a great conversation. I got into great rapport with the people, and I even created some value. And then I forgot to ask for the appointment. And I'm always like, what? How do you forget to ask for an appointment? Well, that ties back to a previous video that I've done that is all about making sure that you have the right focus. Your focus has to be first and foremost on I am going to set an appointment. Once I have that focus, the next thing that has to happen is I have to create some connection or some rapport, which we've talked about in another video. And then another video after that, even I talked about creating value or making people curious. Well, in this video, we're going to talk today about how do you close? What is the right way to close and to set appointments? See, most agents that I work with don't close. There are only 5 ways in the English language that you can close and ask for an appointment, and most agents aren't using them. Here's what they are. It's what time, so what time, which time, how soon, so how soon, when, and where. If you're saying anything besides one of those 5 things, you're not asking for an appointment. The example I like to use is if you were to say to somebody, can we get together? Now, if you analyzed the question, can we get together, what are you really asking? And I would love for you to just think about that. What are you asking someone when you say, can we get together? What you're asking them is it possible? When you say, can we do this or can we do that, you're asking about possibilities. Now, can someone get together with you? The answer to that is yes, they can. But the only issue is, do they see a reason to, which ties back to a previous video of, do they see the value or are they curious? Because if they don't see the value or they're not curious, they are not going to say yes to you meeting together. So can we get together is not asking for an appointment. It is asking if it's possible. Same thing with, is there a time? Well, you're just asking, does it exist somewhere? Is there a time? Does it exist? Everybody's busy. So when you say, is there a time? They're going to go, well, I don't know, maybe like I have to talk to my spouse or whatever. That is not asking for an appointment. The only way you can ask for an appointment is what time, which time, how soon, when, or where. If you're not saying that, you're not getting an appointment. Now, the other thing that I hear agents do, which this one is crazy to me, is we ask the person, why don't we get together? Now, again, let's analyze what that is asking. When you say to someone, why don't we get together? What you're asking them is, my assumption, this is what you're saying to them. My assumption is we're not going to get together. I just need you to give me a reason why we are not going to get together. And once you give me that reason why we're not to get together, I could then move on and go to my next potential prospect. Well, we don't ever want to say that. In fact, let me ask it this way. If I were in person with you, I usually will say, why don't you give me some money? And sitting in a room with 50 people, I will go around and ask a number of them, why don't you give me some money? Why don't you give me some money? Why don't you give me some money? And I get all kinds of answers like, well, what do you need it for? And I don't want to. I don't have any. I need it for my lunch. Like, notice, though, if you went around and you asked every person in your office, why don't you give me some money? Every single one of them is going to tell you a reason they're not going to give you money. You won't end up with money. Now, occasionally you might come across somebody who's like, yeah, how much do you need? Like, if you have that type of a relationship with them, but walk up to somebody that you don't have a very good relationship with and just say, hey, why don't you give me some money? And they're going to go, well, why? What do you need it for? Like, notice that they're like, what? Why would I do that? The same thing happens when you're prospecting. You say to somebody, why don't we get together? Is what they're going to do is they're going to come back and tell you the reason you're not going to get together. And typically, by the way, the reason they give is actually not the truth. When you say, why don't we get together, is not going to be the real reason. Now, occasionally somebody might say, well, I don't see any value in getting together with you, which might be the real reason that they're not getting together with you. Now, I was teaching this one time and I was talking to an agent and I brought this up and she raised her hand in the class and she said, hey, I say, can we get together all the time and it works. And I was like, great. If you're saying, can we get together and you're getting the amount of business, now that's the key. If you're getting the amount of business that you want from real estate, then keep saying it. See, the issue isn't you have to change this. My issue in it is you only got to change to this if you're not getting the results that you want. If you're getting the results you want, saying what you're saying, there is no mandate to change it. Don't change it. Now, here's the interesting thing. As soon as the class was over, I went back to my office, and this lady was in the same company that I was working with. And I went and I looked up her production. She had closed 2 transactions in the last year. 2. So here's what I take away from that. If you want to close 2 transactions every year, say, can we get together? Apparently it works awesome for you being able to set appointments. But if you want to get more than that and you want to get to $250,000 a year, you've got to make sure you're starting to say what time, which time, how soon, when, or where. Now, my personal favorite on that is I love when I'm prospecting, I love saying to somebody, which time is better, afternoons or evenings? Now, sometimes I shorthand that and I will just say, hey, what works better for you, afternoons or evenings? But notice if I say what works better, afternoons or evenings, I'm really just saying which time is better for you, an afternoon or an evening. Now, people love when you give them options. With my sons, I had 3 boys, with my 3 sons, my wife would always say, hey, do you want to clean your room or did you want to clean the bathroom? See, by giving them options, people like and feel better about having an option. So my wife would say, would cleaning your room be better or cleaning the bathroom? And they would choose one of them. And my wife was fine with either one. So that's the same thing you want to do. If you want your appointments in afternoon or evening, you're going to say, hey, what works better, afternoon or evening? If you want your appointments to be mornings or afternoon, hey, which works better for you, a morning appointment or an afternoon? Notice when you call to go to a doctor or a dentist, something like that, typically the receptionist, when you talk to him, is going to say that exact thing. Hey, did you want a morning or an afternoon? So they're giving you the options. Which works better for you, mornings or afternoons? You want to do the same thing with your clients. Which works better, afternoons or evenings? Then when they tell me, if they say afternoons, I'm going to say, great. Would 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock be better for you? Just figure out what's your schedule and what's going to work for you. But make sure that if you are saying what time, which time, how soon, when, or where, you're going to see the number of appointments you're getting go up dramatically because of what you're saying. So give it a shot, see how it works for you.